Today we're going to talk about how to overcome manipulation. So many people I meet have been zombified, manipulated, in some cases traumatized. It's as if they have lost their own ability to be conscious. Once I understood the different techniques that can be used to manipulate through the media, and in particular in interpersonal interactions using hypnotic language, there's a certain segment of every group, 25 to 30%, that are incredibly susceptible to suggestion and manipulation. A lot of times they are unaware they're being manipulated. They're incapable of thinking logically. They're incapable of making logical decisions. You must be able to overcome manipulation.
I mean, what happened? Did your balls drop off?
What's more important is to understand how they're doing it.
How about a magic trick? It's gone.
Pendulums, organizations, advertising, in every element of your existence, you are being manipulated. And in many cases, you're not aware of it. There are so many different tactics that can be used to manipulate you.
You see, a guy like me, look, listen. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
To understand the nature of manipulation, to become aware of it when it's being used against you. Are you being gaslit? Are you being lied to? We must understand this.
So let's start taking things a little more seriously.
And if we can overcome manipulation, we can create any reality purely from our authentic self. It is not okay.
Why so serious?
This has happened since the beginning of time. How can we figure out a way to overcome this manipulation so that we can seek the true path? Because in most cases, manipulations are to take away your power, to take away your authority, to minimize you, to treat you like a number, like an object, like a pattern.
Now, there are a lot of potential for aggressive expansion. To join our team,
You're constantly being manipulated.
tryouts.
Manipulated to buy, to vote, to travel. Manipulation refers to the act of influencing or controlling someone or something in a clever, often deceptive, and usually unfair manner to achieve a desired outcome or purpose.
I only have one question.
It involves using various tactics or techniques to sway the thoughts, emotions, or actions of individuals or situations, often without their full awareness or consent.
You remind me of my father.
In interpersonal relationships, manipulation may involve emotional blackmail,
Hello, beautiful.
gaslighting, or guilt tripping to gain an advantage or control over someone else's actions or decisions. Manipulation is generally seen as unethical and harmful, as it often takes advantage of people's vulnerabilities or lack of awareness to achieve specific goals. It can
Beautiful.
Well, you look
It
nervous.
can erode trust, damage relationships, and undermine the integrity of systems or institutions. There is no justified form of manipulation. Manipulation is choosing to serve yourself over
Now
another.
I'm always smiling. A little fight in you. I like
If
that.
you truly choose to serve others, you cannot do it through manipulation.
Very poor choice of words.
It is crucial to be aware of manipulative tactics to critically evaluate information and interactions to protect yourself from potential exploitation. It involves influencing or controlling others covertly or deceptively to achieve certain outcomes or serve specific interests. You find it everywhere. If we're going to talk about manipulation, we have to briefly talk about cognitive biases and vulnerabilities. Here are some common examples of cognitive biases and vulnerabilities. First is confirmation bias. This bias occurs when people seek or interpret information in a way that confirms their pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses, while ignoring or dismissing contradictory evidence. It leads individuals to reinforce their existing beliefs rather than objectively evaluate new information.
I don't want there to be any hard feelings between us.
Then there's the availability heuristic. This cognitive shortcut involves making judgments based on the ease with which examples or instances come to mind. People tend to overestimate the likelihood of events that are more vivid or easily recalled than if they are statistically rare.
I was sitting in Gordon's cage. No, I didn't rig those charges.
There's anchoring bias. This occurs when individuals rely heavily on the first piece of information they encounter when making decisions. Even if that information is irrelevant or arbitrary, it anchors their subsequent judgments, leading to biased outcomes.
I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
There's always the overconfidence effect, where people tend to overestimate their abilities, knowledge, and accuracy of their judgments. This overconfidence can lead to risky decisions and poor planning.
The mob has plans. The cops have plans. They're schemers. You know, I just do.
Then there's loss aversion. Humans tend to place more emphasis on avoiding losses than acquiring gains. This bias can lead to risk aversion, making people unwilling to take necessary risks to explore new opportunities. There's always the framing effect, which is how information is presented or framed can significantly influence your decision making. People may react differently to the same information depending on whether it is presented as a potential gain or a loss.
You know, they're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little...
One thing I see a lot of is the bandwagon effect. This bias refers to the tendency of individuals to adopt certain beliefs simply because many others are doing the same.
I'm not a schemer. I try to show the schemers how pathetic their attempts to control things really
And it
are.
can lead to herd mentality and uncritical acceptance of popular opinions.
The schemers that put you where you are.
One thing I see a lot is sunk cost fallacy, where people often continue investing time, money, or effort into a project or decision based on the resources they have already committed, even if it no longer makes rational sense to do so.
You were a schemer. You had plans. And look where that got you.
I see a lot of people that have chosen to choose a false belief, a false way of life, and they've spent so long in it, it becomes their identity. It becomes a sunk cost, where all they're going to look for is confirmation bias.
I won my phone call.
And they're going to look for the most recent evidence they can that confirms their bias.
I want it. I want my phone call.
It's like we're experiencing a global Dunning-Kruger effect. This bias describes the tendency of less skilled individuals to overestimate their abilities, while experts may underestimate theirs.
The difference between punks who need a little lesson in manners and the freaks like you who would just enjoy it.
People with low competence in a particular area may believe they're more competent than they are.
You want to know people show you who they really are, and then you are.
Perhaps the most frustrating is the cognitive bias of the halo effect, which is forming an overall positive or negative impression of a person based on a single positive or negative trait. They choose one thing.
Would you like to know which of them were cowards?
It always leads to biased judgments and evaluations of individuals. Manipulative behaviors refer to actions or tactics used by individuals to influence or control others in a calculated and often deceptive manner.
My phone call.
Understanding the motivation behind manipulative behavior can be complex and multifaceted.
That's a big one, man. That is a big one.
But several common factors contribute to manipulation.
You were a schemer. You had plans. And look where that got you.
First of all, it's always about power and control. One of the primary motivations behind manipulative behaviors is the desire for power.
They need you right now. When they don't, they'll cast you out. Like a leper.
In manipulative behaviors is the desire for power and control over others.
I'll show you. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
Manipulators seek to assert dominance
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the
and
curve.
influence the decisions and actions of those around them to fulfill their needs or goals.
Me?
It often comes out of insecurity and low self-esteem. Individuals with deep-seated insecurities or low self-esteem may resort to manipulation to compensate for their perceived inadequacies. Manipulating others can provide a temporary sense of validation and self-worth.
Does it depress you to know just how alone you really are?
There's always the fear of rejection or abandonment that is a part of manipulative behavior. Some manipulative individuals may fear rejection or abandonment, leading them to manipulate others to ensure their relationship is maintained. Oftentimes, it comes down to narcissism and ego. Narcissistic individuals often engage in manipulative behavior to bolster their self-image and maintain their grandiose self-concept. They may exploit others to meet their own needs without considering the well-being of those they manipulate. Manipulative behavior can be driven by a desire to achieve personal goals, even at the expense of others. Some individuals use emotional manipulation as a way to control the emotions of others, eliciting sympathy or guilt or fear to achieve their objectives.
See? And you didn't disappoint. Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
A lack of empathy can lead individuals to engage in manipulative behavior because they are less concerned about the impact of their actions on others. Then there's always past traumas or learned behaviors.
So they can get back to the way things were. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
Traumas are actually used as a form of manipulation. Some individuals may have learned manipulative tactics as a survival mechanism due to past trauma or experiences.
There's no.
In some cases, people may have learned manipulation as a social skill, seeing it as an effective way to navigate relationships and interactions.
You complete me.
Certain personality disorders, such as borderline or antisocial personality disorder, can be associated with manipulative behavior as a characteristic trait. In highly competitive environments, individuals may resort to manipulation to gain a competitive edge.
It's ruled, and you think that's the rule you'll have to. Then that's the rule you'll have to break to know the truth. Which night you're gonna break your one rule.
There's a bunch of different reasons for the manipulation: entitlement, superiority, external pressures, lack of communication skills, revenge or resentment, cultural and societal norms,
Look at you go.
A choice. Choose between one life or the other.
addiction, lack of boundaries, feeling threatened, or copying role models.
Nothing.
There's so many different factors that can go into it. It is important to remember that manipulative behavior is not an acceptable or healthy way to interact with others.
And that's the point.
It can cause harm, damage trust, and erode the quality of relationships. I often meet highly manipulative people that are so alone.
I thought my jokes were bad.
They've destroyed every relationship they've been in, and the people that are in their lives don't trust them, do not truly relate with them.
You ought to know you bought it. You see, a guy like me, look, listen. Crazy. I'm not. No, I'm not.
For those who recognize manipulative tendencies in themselves, seeking help, such as therapy,
This now. Soon. Yeah.
I'm putting the word out.
can be beneficial in understanding the underlying motivations and learning healthier ways to interact with others.
So let's start taking things a little more seriously.
Similarly, for those dealing with manipulative individuals, setting boundaries and assertively addressing the behavior can help protect against manipulation and foster healthier interactions. I wanted to cover emotional manipulation a little bit more because it is one of the most significant forms of manipulation being used in the media, interpersonally, on a variety of levels. Emotional manipulation is a form of psychological abuse that involves controlling or influencing another person's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors to suit the manipulator's agenda. It is often subtle and insidious, making it difficult for the victim to recognize or escape from the manipulative dynamic. A lot of people that you see on TV that you hate, that you disagree with, that you're angry with, some of those people are just being manipulated. Emotional manipulators exploit vulnerabilities, insecurities, and fears to maintain power and control over their victims. This manipulation can occur in various relationships, friendships, family settings. For example, gaslighting, which is a manipulative tactic where the abuser distorts or denies the victim's reality, making them doubt their perceptions, memory, and sanity. This can lead the victim to feel confused and anxious and question their judgment, leading to a loss of self-trust and confidence. Another is isolation. People will isolate themselves into reality bubbles, and they also end up isolating themselves in their own lives. That's why you see an entire group of involuntarily celibate people that are alone being manipulated.
What do you do when you're not hitching rides?
Oh, I make maps.
Make any money?
I make maps.
If the manipulator can isolate the victim from the friend and family, create a dependency on the manipulator for emotional support, this isolation can leave the victim feeling lonely, trapped, and with limited resources.
You don't get rich cooking either, believe me. You're not from around here.
There's guilt tripping. Manipulators frequently use guilt as a means to control their victims. They may exaggerate the victim's mistakes or use past actions to make them feel responsible for the manipulator's negative emotions or behaviors. Some will just put you through an emotional roller coaster. Emotional manipulators can create cycles of highs and lows in the relationship, offering affection, attention, or praise intermittently to keep the victim emotionally invested. Then, of course, there's fear and intimidation, one of the most powerful forms of manipulation.
It's so bad! It's so bad! It's so bad! Come on! It's so bad!
This is what's happening in the world. This terrible thing's happening. We need to fear this. Something bad is going to happen to you.
I know what I'm doing. He's getting tired. I know what I'm doing. I swear I know what I'm doing.
Emotional manipulators use threats, intimidation, and aggressive behaviors to control their victims.
Come on, can I get you? Can I get you? Come on.
These are heavyweights! Come on, come on!
They create a climate of fear where they're afraid to walk out their front door. Everybody around them is someone to be fearful of, making the victim comply with the manipulator's demands out of concern for their safety or well-being.
Whole world's watching. Knock me out! Come on, knock me out! Come on, hard! Get it hard! Get it hard out!
Some will use emotional blackmail or diminish your self-worth.
My mother is on it! Come on, go hard, Jim! In the face, come on!
Some will
Hey, come
actually
on.
use anxiety and depression as a form of manipulation.
You're so bad! Ain't nothing!
There's dependency and learned helplessness, cognitive dissonance, loss of identity, a lack of boundaries, and codependency. It becomes difficult to trust others. This can lead to health issues. You blame yourself. It becomes difficult when you're being manipulated and when you're manipulating to express emotions. Manipulators will discourage or belittle a victim's emotions, leading them to suppress their feelings.
Don't bust my balls with it, okay? Your mother was a ball buster.
Trauma bonding, which is one of the most powerful forms, where a trauma bond between victim and the manipulator is formed. Due to this intense emotional experience, making it challenging for the victim to leave the relationship even when they know its toxicity.
Let's get the hell out of here. Lousy service.
There's financial exploitation, where victims drain their resources or control their access to money.
Not normal to move every 3 months.
And a threatened impact on future relationships, the future of your
Being
world.
ashamed or embarrassed. As long as we keep the place clean, as long as nobody's going to say anything about it.
All these things are being used right now by individuals in particular, groups, corporations. Nobody is being singled out in this episode.
I want to spend another night in this shithole.
You need to become aware of the narcissists and sociopaths that are in your life.
That place was a shithole. This place is a shithole. This place was a shithole. This place is a shithole.
Those are the people that are administering these forms of manipulation. Understand what it is. Sociopaths and psychopaths are terms used to describe individuals with certain personality traits and behavioral patterns with antisocial personality disorder. It's very similar to narcissists. They often lack empathy, have a sense of entitlement,
I'm their father. I'm their father.
believe they're superior to others. They exhibit an extreme preoccupation with themselves and a profound need for admiration and attention from others. There's no way I can truly cover all the techniques and ways that you're being manipulated and the personality types that are involved in these manipulations. What I can promise you is that somebody's trying to manipulate you in your life right now. Could be your child. But someone out there is trying to manipulate you, and you must become aware of this manipulation. One of the most common ways, how can you know if someone is manipulating you? Have you ever done something that you weren't comfortable with? Or deep down in your mind, you didn't really want to do because you felt that it would alleviate someone else's suffering? If you have, then you have become the victim of manipulation. It doesn't matter who was doing the manipulation, it only matters what the results happen to be. The question is, are you sitting right now inside the danger zone of manipulation? Is there something that you want that people around you know about and could potentially use it against you to get you to do something to help them, and which you would otherwise not be willing to do? That's the danger zone. It is the area in your life where other people can take advantage of you to get what they want without regard for what is best for you. Every single person has a danger zone within their life.
I'm their father.